So the verses are on the screen. Pragna Mataji and Naina Mataji, please proceed.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atha Dvadashodhyayah Bhakti Yoga Arjuna Uvacha. Evam satatayuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha.
Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who are worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested?
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Mayyaveshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate Saddhaya parayopetas te me yuktatamamataha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect.
Yetvaksharamanirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintyam cha kutasthamachalam dhruvam sanniyamyendriya gramam sarvatra samabhuttayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha.
But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me.
Kleshodikatarastesham avyaktasakt chetasam avyaktahi gatir dukam dehavaddirvyapyate.
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal features of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudvarta mrityu sansara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha Mayyaveshite chetasam.
But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pratha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death.
Mayyeva mana adastva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivisishasya si madhyeva ata urdvam na sanshayah.
Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt.
Atha chitam samadhatum न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासे योगेन ततो मामिच्छातुं धनञ्जय.
My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
अभ्यासे अप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थम् अपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि.
If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुम् मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्.
If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated.
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानाभ्यासान् ध्यानात् विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागाच्चन्ति निरन्तरम्.
If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind.
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखसुखक्षमी. सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्यो यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me.
यस्मानो द्विजते लोको लोकानो द्विजते च यः हर्षं हर्षभयोद्वेगम् उक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः.
He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me.
अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्ष उदासीनो गतव्यतः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
My devotee, who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me.
यो न ह्यस्यति न द्रष्टि न शोचति न काङ्क्षति शुभाशुभपरित्यागी भक्तिमान् यः स मे प्रियः.
One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me.
Samah shatrau cha mitre cha tatha manamapamanayo shitoshna sukha dukheshu samah sanga vivarjitah tulya nindastu motuti moni santushto yena kenachit aniketah stiramatihi Bhaktiman me priyo narah.
One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me.
Ye tu dharmamrutam idam yathoktam paryupasate sadhanamat parama bhaktaste ativa me priyaha.
Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me.
Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Sastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayah Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. I apologize for all the mistakes I have made. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Please forgive me for any mistakes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Pragna Mataji and Naina Mataji. That was very nicely done. And I heard, Pragna Mataji, that today is the birthday of your son, Pranav. On
Yes.
behalf of all the devotees on this chat forum today, we'd like to extend very warm birthday wishes to Pranav.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, dear devotees, today we continue reading and discussing from chapter 12, entitled Devotional Service. And today we are going to do the final verse, text number 20. Before we do that, let's recite the Mangala Charana prayers. Please feel free to join in behind muted mics. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadi Shatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yetu dharmamritam amritam hidam yato tam paripasate shradadhana mat parama bhaktastu tiva me priyaha. Word for word synonyms: ye, those who, to, but, dharma, of religion, amritam, nectar, idam, this, yata, as, uktam, said, paripasate, completely engaged, shradadanaha, with faith, mat paramaha, taking me, the Supreme Lord, as everything, bhakta, devotees, te, they, ativa, very, very, me, to me, priya, dear. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Purport. In this chapter, from verse 2 through the end, from Maya Eveshya Manoyamam, fixing the mind on me, through Yetu Dharm Amritam Idam, this religion of eternal engagement, the Supreme Lord has explained the processes of transcendental services for approaching Him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and He accepts a person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna. And the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the Personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotional service and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self-realization, for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Absolute Truth, as described in this chapter, is recommended only up to the time one surrenders himself for self-realization. In other words, as long as one does not have the chance to associate with a pure devotee, the impersonal conception may be beneficial. In the impersonal conception of the Absolute Truth, one works without fruitive result, meditates and cultivates knowledge to understand spirit and matter. This is necessary as long as one is not in the association of a pure devotee. Fortunately, if one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna consciousness in pure devotional service, he does not need to undergo step-by-step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotional service, as described in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. What a beautiful purport. The verse again, those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So this is our mission in life, to become very, very dear to Krishna. And if we can attain this position of becoming very, very dear to Krishna, then our life becomes perfect. As long as we have not attained this position, there will always be some lacking. So in this chapter, Krishna has been explaining devotional service. And in this verse, the word is very, very dear. So the question remains, yes, we've understood by devotional service, we've understood the qualities. But what are the ways by which we become very dear to Krishna? Srila Prabhupada has explained that very nicely in the purport. But I thought I'll just look at it from a little different angle today. There's certain words just caught me when we were reading the purport. Prabhupada says we should execute the regulative principles of devotional service. And Prabhupada uses 3 words there: with faith, with attachment, and with devotion. So we can perform the regulative principles of devotional service mechanically, or we can perform them with faith, attachment, and devotion. We should aspire for what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here. Now, how we do that with faith, attachment, and devotion, that is explained to us by the Lord himself, and also it's demonstrated by the great devotees of the Lord. Mahajana yena gata sapanta. We can see through the lives, through the activities of the great devotees of the Lord, how we can perform devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion. And this is what we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations about the personality of Godhead and his great devotees. Like, for example, in the Bhagavatam, we see the example of Dhruva Maharaj, who performed devotional service with great determination. We see examples like Prahlad Maharaj, who performed it with great faith and attachment. And there are examples like Bali Maharaj, actually full of examples, rising up right till the 10th canto. And when we get into the 10th canto, we see the topmost devotees. Now, I just wanted to share today some aspects from some extracts from the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna uses the word priya, priyaha. He uses it 12 times in the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 7, he uses it twice. In chapter 9, he uses the word priya twice. In chapter 11, twice. And in chapter 12, which we are studying, he uses it 11 times. 11 times. And that should not come as a surprise, because this chapter is all about devotional service. All about devotional service. And devotional service is most dear to Krishna. Then there's 4 times in chapter 17 and 1 time it'll be nice one day if we can go and analyze the different contexts in which Krishna used. And then Krishna also uses the word Priya. That's without the H. 8 times in the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is being very explicit in the Bhagavad Gita, how one becomes dear to him, by what qualities, by what mood, by what consciousness. This is directly spoken by Krishna himself. And we can study it. If you all are wondering how I got to this, you simply go to the Veda base, you go to search, you type Priyaha, you filter it to Bhagavad Gita, and you find this. Now, this verse, Krishna uses the word very, very dear. But interestingly, there is also a part in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says there is no one as dear to him. And Krishna makes it absolutely clear. And this is what the mood in which Srila Prabhupada gave us. And where is that? That is in verses 68 and 69, where Krishna, after having spoken the entire Bhagavad Gita, having spoken the conclusion in 1866, Krishna reveals the innermost core of his heart of what and who is especially dear to him. What does that person do? And in 68, Krishna says, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come to me. And then Krishna makes this declaration. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So Krishna has given us a very, very special flavor of how we can become very dear to him. And Srila Prabhupada stressed this in all of his classes and his writings. We become very, very dear to Krishna. We fall into this category here, Priyakrita Maha, by becoming engaged in spreading the message of Krishna. One Srila Prabhupada in the lecture, he asked, what is the meaning of love? Or what is the symptom of love? What is the prime symptom? What is the main symptom? What is the most important symptom of love? And then Srila Prabhupada answered his question. He said the main symptom, the prime symptom, the most important symptom of love is that the devotee wants to see the glories of his beloved Lord spread far and wide. Isn't that beautiful? We're getting a very, very a deep insight into the inner chambers of Krishna's heart, of what becomes dear. And this is what Srila Prabhupada stressed. Srila Prabhupada said, in your life, if you simply chant, follow the 4 regulative principles, chant a minimum of 16 rounds, and do your best as far as possible to spread this mission of Krishna consciousness, I guarantee you, Prabhupada says, I guarantee you, you will go back to Godhead at the end of this lifetime. So this has been revealed to us by the Acharya. Now I just want to drop back into an extract from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna reveals something again of how we become very dear to him. And this he reveals to Uddhava. Now this conversation with Uddhava is very relished and cherished by the devotees, because the night before Lord Krishna departed from this planet, he met Uddhava, and Uddhava was very concerned about what was going to happen, in this world with Dharma when the Lord departs. And in the Lord met Uddhava and had this wonderful conversation and spoke these wonderful messages in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I simply really, really like this 12th chapter, the first opening verses, where Krishna first explains how we do not become dear to him. And then he explains how we become very dear to him. So this is 11th canto, 12th chapter, verses 1 and 2. And then Krishna says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. So Krishna is explaining how we become dear, how he becomes controlled. How? When we associate with his pure devotees and give up all attachment for sense gratification. Then Krishna explains how one does not and cannot become dear to him. Yeah? And it's so interesting the way he says, na roda yati, one does not control me by yoga, na sankyam, by the analytic study of material elements, na dharma, by ordinary piety, na swadhyaya, by chanting the Vedas, na tapaha, not by penances, na tyaga, not by the renounced order of life, na ishtapurtam, not by the performance of sacrifices and public welfare activities such as digging wells or planting trees, na dakshina, not by charity, na vratani, not by taking vows, like following Ekadasi, na yagya, not by worship of the demigods, na chandamsi, by chanting confidential mantras, na tirthani, by going to holy places of pilgrimage, na niyama, by following the major instructions, na yama, by minor regulations. Krishna says, avarunde, none of these bring me under the control. But how? Satsanga, satsanga, by association of my devotees. Sarva, sangha, materialism, removing, that's how we become dear to him. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has been explaining in the purport. Unless one reaches that one point in one's journey, one where one meets the pure devotee, one will be more attracted towards the impersonal aspect of the Lord. But when that defining moment comes, when one meets the pure devotee, then everything changes. Then Krishna does something very interesting. He gives a long list of devotees who conquered him. Now just listen to this list and see how interesting it is. Krishna says the Daityas, the Rakshasas, birds, beasts, the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, the Nagas, the Siddhas, the Charanas, the Guyakas, the Vidyaharas, as well as such lower class human beings such as the Vaishyas, Shudras, women and others, were able to attain me. Vritrasura, a demon, Prahlad Maharaj, a child. They have achieved my abode by association with my devotees, as the personalities such as Vrisaparva, Bali Maharaj, demon, Banasura, Maya, Vibhishan, Sugriva. See, now Krishna mentioned other living entities, Hanuman, a monkey, Jambavana, a bear, Gajendra, an elephant, Jatayu, her bird, Tuladar, Dharmavyada, Kubja, and the gopis of Vrindavan, and the wives of the brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. So Krishna gives this long list of his devotees who were not particularly qualified in austerities or Vedas or anything. They were just simply pure, simple devotees who by association of his devotees, they conquered him. And then Krishna goes on to reveal something very, very much in the inner chambers of his heart. In the following verses, he talks about the gopis' love for him. But yeah, we'll stop there. There's so much we can speak about, but let us stop here for today and take any questions before we go on and read from our family business. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments, anyone? Okay, no questions. We'll go on to read then. If you have something, we'll come back later on. So we continue reading from our family business, this beautiful book about Srila Prabhupada's mission of book distribution. And we're reading a very relevant chapter today. The UK awakens. There's a famous saying, the sleeping giant has awakened. So the UK Yatra, for a point in time, it was always America who was the leaders in book distribution. But within the history of ISKCON, there was a period where the UK came forward and shone like no other country in book distribution. So I'll read a bit from this chapter and then we can discuss. So this is from page 119, the UK awakens. Satsvarup Das Goswami summarizes the early history of book distribution in the UK. When book distribution had been just beginning in America in 1970, no books had been available in England. Can you imagine a situation where there were none of Srila Prabhupada's books in England? That was the situation in 1970. But within a year, Krishna book distribution had begun. And Srila Prabhupada had written, all of my disciples in London Center are very intelligent and they should unite around the single task of selling Krishna book widely throughout Britain. Now we can take this as an instruction that is as relevant as it was then as it is today. Because we are, Srila Prabhupada is our Param Guru. We are his sort of like grand disciples of disciples. And he says here, all of my disciples in London Center are very intelligent and they should unite around the single task of selling Krishna book widely throughout Britain. By 1974, the devotees in Britain were valiantly distributing books. During one busy 6-day period, they distributed 600 volumes of teachings of Lord Chaitanya, 400 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and 1,000 Back to Godhead magazines. It's uncanny how similar events unfolded to stoke the fire of book distribution around the world. In 1972, a spontaneous outpouring from the devotees in Los Angeles, who within days had distributed a record number of books, had boosted expectations of devotees everywhere for their own distribution. Now similar events were being repeated in Europe and the UK. Janananda Goswami, who was in the UK at the time, gave some of the details of this period. It's autumn 1971, Oxford Street, London. Thousands of people going here and there on perhaps the world's busiest shopping street. I stand on the street corner in jeans and a t-shirt and hair to my waist, nervously holding a pile of Back to Godheads. The daily Harinam Sankirtan is nearby. I am speechless, holding the magazines in the air, hoping someone will stop and take one. Hours pass. 3 magazines go out for 30 pence each. I was surprised, and I was even more surprised to hear that that was the top score that day. That is what it was like. It seemed next to impossible to sell the literature. Months later, shaved up, I am out the door of the temple in the morning for the first time with big hardbound Krishna books, going door to door. I have to sell them somehow, I am told. Days would go by, and between us not even one book would be sold. They would sit in the storeroom as the temple struggled from day to day to get enough food for the inmates. We hear it was not long ago that there were devotees in London who did sell books and even get Lakshmi for them. But it seemed at this point that we had little idea what to expect, what to do except try and thank Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna for the opportunity to try. Small books were there for distribution, Easy Journey, On the Way to Krishna, The Perfection of Yoga, and maybe others like The Matchless Gift. It all seemed too foreign to the people, and small number of books were going out. I guess sometime we would have felt like this in our own journey of book distribution. Then, in 1972, sometime around spring, the first traveling Sankirtan party in Europe was formed, a rather motley crew and not particularly successful in terms of results. It changed the dynamics of the yatra. Prabhu Vishnu got some money together and secured a vehicle. The spirit for distributing books grew. No particular technique, just enthusiasm, a good spiritual program, and conviction that these books will save the world. We must get them out. Big books, however, still sat dormant. Around late spring, an unexpected arrival of two devotees from Holland, Bidan Chandra and Sudarshan Das, opened the doors. Bidan immediately filled up a bag with Krishna books and took to the street. We didn't do that sort of thing. How could you sell big books on the street? He came back at the end of the day, 10 books sold for more than the cost price. Unbelievable. I remember my first thoughts, he must be a Shakti-Avesh avatar. From then on, things changed. The traveling Sankirtan party spruced up with Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, taking the reins, and book distribution became the thing to do. Those doing books were like the Special Legion, the Super Squad. Keshav and Sridhar Prabhus came through from the west coast of the USA on their way to India. They shared stunning news of the book distribution in the US and went out themselves, enlivening the old temple. We virtually ran out of all of the literature. On our traveling Sankirtan party for many days, all we had were leaflets. Then the full edition soft-bound Macmillan Gitas arrived sometime in mid-72. Our traveling party was streamlined. Dhananjay Prabhu, the temple president, bent over backwards to give to whomever he could the strength to do it. The party consisted of Prabhu Vishnu at the helm, a real general and hero of book distribution, Mahavishnu, Rajendra Kumar, Deva Dharma, Tribangananda, and myself, a great team. Some of these devotees are still around. As we eagerly, enthusiastically took daily to the streets of towns around the country, book distribution soared. The mood in the temple changed. It was really uplifted. A new level of direction. Krishna book trilogies arrived in autumn 72. The storm was on to blitz the country with Krishna books. By later standards, it was small. If we could do 10 trilogies each day, that was big. And a couple of Bhagavad Gita on the side, those really interested, mostly hippies. In the temple at Bari Place, the devotees also became book distribution conscious. On January 3rd, 1973, something very special happened, at least for us. A letter arrived from Srila Prabhupada addressed to Prabhu Vishnu. After that letter, there was not a doubt that book distribution was the thing to do to please Srila Prabhupada, to spread Krishna consciousness and to advance spiritually. So tomorrow we'll read this wonderful letter that arrived, addressed to Prabhu Vishnu in London. So we'll stop here. It's 8:45. I'm not sure if anyone's got any questions, comments, realizations, reflections. Please share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu. Please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for reading the The book on distribution is so wonderful. I mean, I remember when I first came to know about book distribution. At the beginning, I didn't know about book distribution. And more I'm sort of knowing, and I feel so much indebted to Srila Prabhupada. You know, whatever way we can serve Srila Prabhupada to book distribution, because he always says that, you know, distribute my books. So I take it very hard, and if I can't do it, I feel very pain in my heart. You know, I've been asking my Sangha members and friends and family. More or less everybody has, you know, because I can't go door to door, everybody has given donation, and so they are going on the Bhagavad Gita distribution. So I feel very fortunate to do that little service for Srila Prabhupada. And actually, first time when I many years ago, when I went, and that day they were doing celebration, you know, that after the marathon they do celebration one day, and I didn't know anything about book distribution at that time. That was my first experience, and I saw Srila Prabhupada speaking. You know, there was a video, and I saw how much Srila Prabhupada wants to there. And I asked one of the temple devotees, I said, "Do you go book distribution?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Can I come with you?" And he said, "Yes." So then after work, I used to go to the temple, and I used to go out with her. So that every Wednesday I used to go and distribute books. That's how I started. And it's just so wonderful when you knock the door, somebody opens the door, and when they take the book, it's just so wonderful. And I remember once it was snowing like anything, but we didn't stop. We went out, and one person house, and different people acted in different way. One person just got the dog out. He said, "Please get out," you know. And so then we just went, and the next room house we went, there was husband and wife both came out, little elderly. They appreciated so much. "So why did you come in this cold weather? Please go home." And they took so many books because they saw our sincerity. And it's so all different. It's just a wonderful feeling when we give out books.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that, Palika Mataji. We'll only know when we do it. You know, Prabhupada used to say, you can lick the outside of the bottle as much as you want, but unless you open the jar, you put your finger in and you taste it, you will never know the taste. The same is with book distribution. Unless we go out and we do it, we never know. And there's a special taste because there's a special happiness that Krishna feels when a living entity comes in contact with the books. Krishna, it's the start of a living entity's journey back to Krishna, and it pleases Krishna very much. So thank you very much, Palika Mataji. You're an inspiration. Every marathon without fail, no matter what your situation is, you come forward and you inspire everybody by your efforts. And even if you can't go out, you always donate and you give generously towards books. So thank you for setting such a wonderful example for all of us.
Be more blessing, prayer, so that I can do more for Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Anyone else got any comments or reflections? Chandrika Mataji?
Hare Krishna. No, I don't have many comments, but actually it's a really beautiful experience to go out there and just, I mean, today I was out doing a few things on this, and I just thought, shall I just give it a try, you know, just it's my last day, I'm going away tomorrow. And it's just a relishable moment to book distribution. So definitely we should go out, and next 3 or 4 days left. How many days left, Prabhu?
It finishes on Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, okay.
24th, so what, 3 days left?
3 days, yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, since nobody's had a taste, they should go out and do it.
Yeah. We're going out on Wembley on Saturday. Book Saturday out.
Oh, is it door to door or?
Everything. We'll probably do the streets, we'll do door to door, we'll do Harinam, everything in Wembley on Saturday.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Prabhu, what time you coming to Saturday?
I don't know. I was going to speak to you Krishnavani Mataji, if we can get a slot, a table outside Popats on the
Yeah,
high
they
street.
say anytime, so there is no restriction for the book
Okay.
table. So, but you decide what time, then we'll just.
Okay, I'm all alone this Saturday. Keshav Gokulanand and Divyana Prabhu are away. So,
Okay.
so we'll have to arrange ourselves, and they put the responsibility on my head. So let's see, we'll discuss.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right. When is the next books distribution after Wembley? Oh, we'll do it throughout the year, Mataji, but for the marathon, it finishes on Saturday, the 24th. But if you can join the Sankirtan Forever WhatsApp group, you can message me and I'll send you the link. We have all details there whenever the book distribution activities take place. And also we'll have a book table definitely on New Year's Day at the temple. And we continue to have our book table on the weekends. So you can join us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
You know, you send us, hours, we have to fill those, how many hours you did it.
Yes.
But it was difficult for me. I cannot enter anything. It was an opening, so I don't know how to do it.
Okay, I'll send it to you again. I don't know. It should be working. And then let me know if you still have a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Hare Krishna.
everyone. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha.
कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो नमो नमः Hare Krishna.
Thank
Very
you,
nice class,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for wonderful class.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, devotees. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.